It's about to get real creepy in here, people. Buckle up. Cue the scary music. Yikes. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about board games and board gaming things. I'm back again today with another preview video. And today's preview is on Charles Band's Puppet Master Return to Bodega Bay in the board game from Dynamite, who very kindly sponsored today's video. Now, as per usual with my preview videos, this is not an official how to play. I will not be covering all of the rules. This is more meant as a general overview to help you figure out whether or not this is going to be a good fit for you. A few things to note. Number one, this is a prototype version of the game, so you know the drill. Anything you see is subject to change. Number two, all the links, everything that you need to know will be in the description below. All right, so if it seems like something that's going to be right up your alley, then you can click on the links and then you can go to the crowdfunding page and then you can back it, which is what you do when you really want a board game. Okay, that's just what you do. So without further ado, I say we dive in, we do a little puppeteering, and we learn a little bit more about Puppet Master. I am going to be referring to the game as Puppet Master for the rest of the video, but please do note that the full name is Charles Band's Puppet Master Return to Bodega Bay in the board game. Okay? And yes, if you're wondering, is this based on the Puppet Master movies? Yeah, obviously. It's really very ominous sitting there behind me. Andre Toulon is dead, but his cursed puppets live on. In Puppet Master, you and your friends are trapped inside the Bodega Bay Inn, and the moment you open that coffin-shaped trunk, you unleash hell. The puppets are back, and they'll stop at nothing to resurrect their master. Your only hope? Work together to uncover the lore behind these murderous marionettes before they complete their dark agenda. This is a cooperative survival horror game filled with tension, clever teamwork, and those unsettling little killers you probably remember from the cult classic films. But what does any of that mean? I'm so glad you asked. Let's take a closer look at how the game works. All right, let's start by talking about setup. The board is modular, built from 8 room tiles connected by hallways, doors, and vent tokens, giving you endless combinations for how the Bodega Bay Inn can be arranged. Every room starts with its lights on, but that won't last long. You'll also set out a pile of key tokens used to lock and unlock doors throughout the game. Each player will choose a hero, like we've done, take their matching pawn and places it in their assigned guest room. Their assigned guest rooms are actually written on their cards. As an example, the athlete is going to go in guest room 6, the thief into guest room 1, the occultist into guest room 8, and the psychic in 7, all of which are corresponding to their card color and their meeple color. You'll also get 3 starter cards, your opening hand, and together your group will face off against a lineup of the infamous puppets from the films. The number of puppets you include determines the difficulty, so fewer puppets for a lighter experience, or all of them if you want a true horror showdown. For the purposes of today's video, we've selected 3 puppets because I'm afraid of puppets, and 5 puppets just seems like too much. So we are going to be using Jester, Leechwoman, and Blade, but just know that we also have Pinhead and Tenneler as options, all of which come with their own meeples. Whee! All right, so we just picked 3 of 5. That feels fair. Your goal is to collect all 6 lore cards and place them in order on the lore timeline. This represents uncovering the story behind the puppets, how to stop them once and for all. Lore cards, would you look at that? There's one right here. Lore cards are going to be found throughout the deck, and there are a bunch of them, all of which have numbers in the bottom. So that's what it means by putting them in order. But while you're doing that, the puppets are working toward their own sinister goal, completing the agenda timeline to resurrect Andre Toulon. If they finish their timeline before you finish yours, or if the deck runs out of cards, or everyone becomes injured at the same time, you lose. So it's a race against time, darkness, and relentless killers. The agenda cards are also in this deck. So here you see Puppet Agenda. Let's talk about the phases of the game, starting with the hero phase, which is our turn. The game alternates between the hero phase and the puppet phase, and during the hero phase, players take turns clockwise, each getting up to 3 actions on their turn. You can mix and match these actions however you like and even repeat them. So the 4 actions that we have are move, attack a puppet, play an action card, or execute a room action. So we're going to go through those now, starting with move. You can spend an action to move up to 3 connected tiles, rooms and hallways, as long as doors are unlocked. And just so everybody knows, the doors are all starting out unlocked. You can also move through vents if they connect to your room, but once you start another action, any leftover movement is lost. Okay? So this fella right here, who are you? The occultist could move from this guest room into this hallway or through the vent. There's another door here, so they can kind of just bop along so long as the doors are open. Locked doors block movement, of course, unless you spend a key token or play a card that unlocks them. So, like I mentioned, the doors are going to become locked throughout the game, but don't worry, if you have a key, look, the key, if it fits, you can open the door, and guess what? All those keys fit in all these doors. It's pretty great. The next action that you could potentially take is to attack a puppet. If you end up in a room with one of the puppets and the lights are on, you can attack. So let's just set up an example. We'll say that the occultist is going to end up in the same room as Blade. Creepy, creepy Blade, who's just trying to have a nice read in the library. And the lights are on, okay? Light is on. You'll use cards from your hand to do this, and some cards have instant successes, while others require you to roll this die to see whether or not you hit or miss. If you succeed, the puppet goes into hiding, temporarily removed from the board, but its behavior dial will advance, meaning it gets more dangerous the next time it appears. And if you fail, nothing happens, and you might be in trouble next turn. No big deal. So let's just say that the occultist had this item card, the fire poker. This has an attack or a defend action on it. This is going to ask you to roll a die. So if the occultist had the fire poker and they were going up against the blade, then they're going to roll the die. Oops. So they got a 4. A 4 is saying it's a success. Yay! A 1 to 3 would have been a failure, to discard this card. 7 to 8 is a success, and to draw a card. All right? That's kind of how it works. You just follow the card, and like I said, some of them are instant successes. But if you succeed like I just did, like I said, we are going to temporarily remove Blade from the board, and his behavior dial is going to go up 1. Okay, so he's getting more dangerous, basically. The next action that you can do is to play an action card. Now, action cards are powerful. They might heal you, manipulate lights, give you special moves, or help you fight. You'll play the card, resolve the effect, and then discard it to the stash pile. If the lights are off in your room, some cards, especially attack or defense cards, might not work. So keeping the lights on is kind of key to survival. Here's an example. We have this action card, which is called Hiding Spot. Discard this card as an action to cancel all puppet attacks on you during the next puppet phase. That's pretty handy, actually. The next option is to execute a room action. So every room offers unique action, which are shown by the red icons that are laid out on the tile. You can only use them when no puppets are present and the lights are on. Here are a few examples of what you could potentially do in rooms. The first is search, which is this icon right here. And luckily, everything's also written on the board, which is very convenient. So for search, you're going to draw a card from the deck. It could be useful, or it could be surprise, which must be resolved immediately. What are the odds this is a surprise? It wasn't. Surprise! So here's an example of a surprise card. This is an ambush. A new puppet phase begins now. Execute a complete puppet phase and then resume the previous hero phase, starting with the player who drew this card. This player starts with 3 actions regardless of their actions prior to this card. Discard and draw again. Other things that you could potentially pull new action cards or new item cards, or puppet agendas, not so great, or even lore, which is what we want to pull. So that's really what you're digging in there for. The next option is stash, and let's see if I can find right up here. So we have stash. This allows you to look through the discard pile and claim a card for yourself, but this advances all puppet tiles by one, so do so, you know, at your own risk. Then we have magic, and magic is here. We could do some magic in the library. This allows you to discard 3 cards to search the deck for exactly what you need. Risky, but powerful move. Then, of course, we have the key symbols, which allow us to gain a key token to lock or unlock doors later. We also have research, which allows us to play a lore card from our hand onto the lore timeline. Each one, like I mentioned before, is going to get you closer and closer to victory, but advancing knowledge makes the puppet stronger too. We also have the breaker box. Where are you? Breaker, up there. This lets you flip all the lights in the inn back on, and this can be a total lifesaver. There are also things that you can do anytime without spending actions. You can use a key token to lock or unlock doors. You can trade cards with another player if you're in the same room, or activate your hero's special ability. Each hero has a unique power, like the Psychic, who can ignore bad card draws once per turn, and timing these abilities right can make or break your chances. So we've already learned about the Psychic, but the Athlete has a once per turn, you may move 5 tiles on a single move action. She's fast. She's very, very fast. So that's the hero phase. We're basically just trying to go through this deck so that we can pull out those lore cards quicker than the puppets are pulling out their puppet agenda cards. And we're also, you know, trying to knock down some puppets. Get them out of there. Then we're going to move into the puppet phase. Once every player has taken their turn, the puppets will strike back. Each puppet has a ranking from 1 to 5 and they activate in order. So you'll see that kind of outlined on the board. And once again, we're playing with Jester, Leech, Woman, and Blade. So let's just pretend he's back here. So Blade will go first, followed by Jester, followed by Leech Woman. Their behavior will depend on their current behavior dial, which changes throughout the games. They all start on 1, but remember, that's going to change throughout the game, through fighting, and a bunch of other things. A puppet might act timid, clever, stealthy, or violent, and each state corresponds to a colored die, which are these right here, with different results. Some behaviors make them hunt the nearest hero, while others make them cut the lights, steal cards, or even vanish into the shadows. Ooh. So here's how a puppet turn works. Step 1, release. If it's the puppet's first appearance or it's coming out of hiding, we are actually going to roll our die to see which room it appears in. The more puppets on the board, the harder it is to survive. So let's actually pretend this is Blade's first appearance. They are going to go, whoops, that was a 2 and I knocked her over. So he's going to go right here. Step 2 is to roll for behavior. Now we are going to roll the color die that corresponds with the puppet's current behavior state. And if you're wondering, how would I know? You see in the little triangles, those colors are corresponding to these dice. So let's just stick with Blade here. So we would roll the yellow die because at a 2, he has yellow. Now, let me just pull these out a little bit. As these move, you will see the colors will change. Okay, so it's all depending on where they're at. So let's just do that. Let's roll. And he's rolled a steal. This result determines its action. Maybe it moves towards the closest player, maybe toward the weakest player with the fewest cards. They'll always take the shortest available path through unlocked doors or vents. And if they reach you, get ready. So as an example with steal, what that means is they're going to take a card from the top of the deck and put it face down into the stash pile, which is this pile over here, without us looking at it. So we don't actually know what that card is. And all of the die are going to have different things. Like as an example, this one is saying they're going to move towards the closest hero. We also have ones where they can hide. We have move towards the weakest, and we have even lights so they can actually cut the lights off. Step 3 is to attack. If a puppet ends its movement in a room with one or more players, it will immediately attack. If the lights are on, you can defend as a team by playing a card from one player's hand. If the defense fails or the lights are off, everyone in the room takes a hit, discarding lore cards from their hand or other cards if they have no choice. Okay? So let's just say the lights are off in this room. In that instance, once again, you cannot defend yourself. You are just going to have to get rid of a card from your hand. And if you're wondering, I do have all the cards face up. Because this is a cooperative game, there is no need to hide your cards. Everybody should be able to see what you have. Lose all of your cards and you become injured, forcing you to miss your next turn, and then you'll flip your hero card to its injured side. Get injured again, dead. You're dead. You die. Everybody knows that. Hit twice, dead. When a hero dies, the puppet dials will advance and the group edges closer to defeat. So it doesn't mean the game is over, but it does make the puppets stronger. Now let's talk about those behavior dials. Let me just pull this out here. Like we said before, each puppet has its own behavior dial that tracks how their mindset evolves. As players attack them or progress the lore and agenda timelines, the dials will advance, making puppets more erratic and dangerous. A puppet might start timid and easily scared off, but as the game goes on, it becomes stealthy, clever, and eventually violent, unleashing pure chaos. It's a clever way to make every game feel cinematic and escalating, like you're living through a Puppet Master movie. And all of the puppets, they have their own personalities. You know, they're not just made of plastic and wood and stuff. So as an example, Blade, his special thing is that Blade attacks all players on his tile before and after a movement roll. For Leech Woman, players moving onto a tile shared by Leech Woman must stop for the remainder of their turn. For Jester, if Jester shares a tile with another puppet, Jester's attack cannot be defended. For the Tunneler, when Tunneler is successfully attacked, roll the d8 and move Tunneler to the room that is indicated. And then Pinhead. Each player successfully attacked by Pinhead discards 2 cards to the stash. Okay? So not only are they kind of changing how dangerous they become as we increase the wheel and eventually they get to max, they also have their own special ability, just like the players have their own special abilities. And just for reference, with the 4 dice here, the white dice is when the puppets are timid. The yellow is when they're feeling kind of clever. The purple is when they're being quite stealthy, and the red is when they are violent. And that just corresponds to what is on those dice. So obviously if they're violent, they're moving more towards you, whereas here they might, if they're feeling timid, they might want to hide a little bit more. So that just represents kind of thematically what's going on with these dice. To win, your team must complete the lore timeline. So all 6 lore cards have to be in order. So we have all 6 lore cards here. Once again, you have to take an action in order to put them out into the timeline. Let me find a place here to make the timeline. So we've got 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. If you do that, you win. But remember, you have to do that before the puppets finish their agenda timeline. And once again, they have their own agenda cards. Now, for the agenda cards, I will mention we're not the ones playing those out. So the heroes aren't playing them out. It's actually the puppets that are doing that. So we really want to avoid a puppet stealing one of the agenda cards, either from us or drawing it from the stash, because when they do that, they immediately get to play it out. And remember, that is kind of their win objective. So we're just trying to not let them do that. If they succeed first, or if the deck runs out, or all players are injured at once, Toulon rises again and the inn is lost. It's a brutal, satisfying, and thematic co-op experience that always ends in screams of joy or horror. But my friends, that in a very general nutshell is how this game works. You're working as a team, using your special abilities, sharing your items, your actions, and hoping that you don't get a horrible surprise, and you're trying to fight off the puppets even though fighting them does make them a bit stronger, in order to search for the lore. And if you could put the lore in order, play it out before the puppets are able to put their agenda in order laid out, you win. Otherwise, the puppets win. So your question might be, who is this game for? Puppet Master is perfect for fans of horror, co-op tension, and cinematic gameplay. This game is dark, smart, and dripping with theme. So if you are a fan specifically of this franchise of Puppet Master, then this is obviously going to be a good fit for you. It's for players who want to plan, coordinate, and push their luck, but who will also enjoy the chaos of dice, surprise cards, and a board that feels alive with danger. And of course, like I said, if you're a fan of the Puppet Master film series, this is an absolute love letter to the franchise, filled with Easter eggs and familiar faces and plenty of murderous charm. Who doesn't love murderous charm? So the question is, can you outsmart Toulon's puppets before they tear you apart, or will you become their next vessel? I hope you don't become their vessel. But my friends, that is a little bit about Charles Band's Puppet Master Return to Bodega Bay in the board game. If this sounds like it could be a good fit for you, once again, all the links, everything that you need to know will be in the description below. So definitely click that if you're like, yep, I love this franchise, I love horror, I love spooky season, I love co-op games, there's lots to love here. But that's everything that I have for you today. Now, if you're just buying board games, we're going to go to our friendly local gaming store. For us, that's the Boardroom Game Cafe. And if you like what you see, please subscribe. I hope to see you again soon. And now, I say goodbye. Goodbye!